Hello, hello, it's Friday. It is October 11, 2019. Hi. So I'm back. Last Friday, I was just not feeling it. I'm just having an honest moment. I wasn't feeling it, so I didn't want to be on Instagram Live, so I wasn't here. So thank you for joining me for Feeling Like Friday. Glad you're here. We're going to be talking about, what are we talking about? We're talking about don't take it personal. So, I always like to speak on things that I experience, especially during the week at work, because I'm still working part-time. That's temporary. Oh, okay. Alright, so for Feeling Like Friday, October 11, 2019, we're talking about not letting things bother you. We're talking about not taking it personal. I like to speak on things that I go through, that I experienced in the week, at work, with people, with strangers even, because we can let people bother us, right? Because we get in our flesh. And we want things to go our way. We want to be understood. We want to be heard. And so we let things and people and situations bother us, right? So I want to talk today about why you shouldn't let things bother you and why you should remain in your peace and just use some time to reflect on what bothers you. So for my first question that I have for you today is, what bothers you about people? Let's be real. I'm going to be real and say that it bothers me when people don't merge on the freeway correctly. I feel like, okay, so you already know that we're going to have to merge. Why don't you just merge now? And people don't do that. Or when people cut you off on the freeway or the streets and you're like, hey, so I was actually driving right here. What are you doing? The reality is that that person didn't actually know that you're trying to get over, because they're behind you. They don't see, or they're in front of you. They don't see your blinker. Like, we don't think about that. We just think about the fact that we want to be on our way doing what we need to do, and we want that person to get out the way. So we don't actually think about things from the other person's perspective unless we allow ourselves to do that. And it can be difficult to do that when you are stuck in yourself, and I've been stuck with myself in a lot of cases, and I've come to the realization that you need to think of things in other people's perspective. You need to consider the fact that you don't know why they said that certain thing. You don't know why they did that. Stop wasting time trying to figure out why they did that and move on. Especially in the workplace. So we're in the workplace and someone sends you an email and you're like, this person has the attitude, when we're assuming that they have an attitude and we don't actually have a clarification of actually what they meant, or you have an attitude with them already for something they did in the past, and so you create an attitude for a situation that doesn't need an attitude. So that's just the reality, is that we will try to make stories. And I've expressed to you a book I read. My fiance gave it to me. It's called Crucial Conversations. And in that book, it talks about the stories we make up about people and what they do. So your supervisor comes in and he says something, but you already have an attitude from the week before because he did something last week, and so you create a story about why he did it. Well, he did this because he's a manipulative person and he tries to play like he doesn't know anything. So we come up with this story and we create this story, but not having the real answer to why they did it or why they said a certain thing, and then you have created an issue out of something that was not an issue. And we will sit there and dwell on this issue even when we leave work. Something I was thinking about today is the fact that I need to stop bringing work home. Like, there'll be situations that happen at work, situations with people at work who are temporary people who I will never meet probably again in my life. And it bothers me, and I bring it home, and then I come home and I spend the weekend thinking about it, or at least a portion of it, and then I realize I waste so much time thinking about something that is irrelevant. and people that are relevant. And I'm not saying that to be mean. I'm just saying that you're not going to encounter these people again. That doesn't mean that you shouldn't respect them. It doesn't mean that you should be disrespectful. It just means that these situations that you're in are temporary, and so why are you going to make something long-term off of something that's temporary? You're making a situation that happened with a coworker or a friend something that is long-term because you just can't get over it. You just can't move forward from the situation because you haven't taken the time to reflect and say, hey, why is this person bothering me? What story have I created about this person in order to get me to this point? And why am I getting out of character just because of this incident happened? I've always talked about you need to address issues when they come forward. If you don't address them, they're going to continue to stir up something in you, and it's going to be like a bomb and you explode because you didn't express yourself, or you didn't get clarification on what actually happened. You didn't take the time to actually talk to that person and see what their mindset was in regards to a statement they made or a situation that happened, but instead you decided to create a story and assume. And so I've done it many of times, and I try not to do it anymore because I know it's not leading me into the direction that is connected to my destiny. And so I want to not take things personal anymore, especially where my future is headed. I can't do that anymore, and you should realize the same thing for yourself too. So my question to you is, what bothers you about people? I expressed the fact that people will take forever to merge on the freeway, and that bothers me. Sometimes people are in my space. Like, I like to be in my own personal space, and sometimes people like to be in my space, and I notice that certain cultures like to do that. And so I had to grow to understand that it's okay that people are in my space. It's okay that people like to talk to me even though sometimes I don't want to be talking. It's okay that sometimes people don't understand that I don't like to sit through meetings unless they're productive. So in some cases you have to consider the fact that people aren't always like you. They're not going to have the same mannerisms. They don't have the same behaviors. So what can you do to accommodate them? And I'm not saying that you need to transform and morph into this person that is just accommodating to everybody, because I've literally watched a leader do that and be accommodating to every single person within the organization. And I had to sit back and say, well, do I want to do that? Is my future going to be based on me transforming and morphing into someone that's going to fit the characteristics and mannerisms of the people, or I'm going to be able to stay the same and stay the person that I am and still be able to accomplish my goal as a leader? And so I had to think about that, and I still think about that, and the fact that it must take a lot out of a person to be able to transform themselves to tailor to everyone's needs, as opposed to saying, this is who I am. I understand that's who you are too. How can we work together? But we will need to meet each other where we are at, as opposed to me just transforming and morphing to someone else and then getting out of character and getting out of my purpose because I'm trying to be someone that I'm not. And this just goes on and on. And so I just had to think on that from my experience. So my next question is to you: why do you allow it to bother you? Why do you allow these people to bother you, these situations to bother you, that stranger who jumped in front of you in the line to get on the train? Like, why are you letting these things bother you? These little small, trivial, irrelevant, temporary things bother you when you can be focused on something else. I heard a quote from someone and said you shouldn't spend 5 minutes or more thinking about something that is not going to lead to your 5-year mark. It's not going to lead to your 5-year goals. And so I thought about that, and I kind of forgot about it because I still think about things that may happen earlier in the week or something, and then waste all that time thinking about it, and then realizing I had wasted all that time thinking about it. And so I just want to challenge you today to realize, okay, why does this person bother me? Like for me, I am very to myself. I am reserved yet very outspoken, and so different kind of personalities, my reaction to different kind of personalities is different. Like if someone is really bubbly, and I'm not saying that people with this type of personality, there's something that is wrong with it. I'm just saying that we have different personalities, and so we have to realize, hey, this is who I am, this is who they are, and there's no problem with that. It's okay to be an introvert, it's okay to be an ambivert, it's okay to be an extrovert. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. It's okay to be who you are. And so so the example I was giving is the fact that, some people have really bubbly personalities, and that's fine. It's just, for me, I, have to have moments where I'm just to myself, and so that's fine. It's not that I don't like to be around those people. It's just I know who I am, and I know that people are different, and we need to be accepting of people that are different, and be accepting of the fact that not everyone's going to be like you, and not everyone's going to think like you. They're not going to think to apologize for certain situations. They may not think to consider your perspective, and so you just have to consider that fact. So once you have that reflection piece, and you sit down and say, okay, so this is why this bothers me, you can then establish why it shouldn't bother you anymore. Why shouldn't it bother you when people merge on the freeway slowly? Because it shouldn't bother you, because it's irrelevant. Like, I know that it takes away time, but the reality is that sometimes when they take slower to merge, there's also traffic, so you're like racing to get somewhere, and you're not actually getting somewhere. So like, that's just an example of waste of time, of you thinking on little small trivial things that are not leading to anything. And so that was my second question. We talked about Crucial Conversations. I recommend you read that book. That has allowed me to be able to examine my work relationship when I go to work, and dealing with certain personalities and people that don't function like you. No one functions the same, so if you're expecting people to react to certain things, or expecting people to come at you in a professional way, or be honest about the situations, you have to realize not everyone's going to be on the same level as you. So how does it affect your time in your life? If you are dwelling on things that are irrelevant, how is it going to affect your time in life? How is it going to affect your week? Because a lot of things that happen during the week, we can carry throughout the week. If it happens on Monday, we carry it maybe to Sunday. If it happens on Wednesday, we'll carry it maybe to the next week, this beginning of the next week. And then we realize that we're carrying all these things around that are worthless, that aren't going to lead us to our destiny, that are actually holding us back from our destiny, that are actually weighing on us. And then we wake up and we're a little sidetracked, we're distracted, because we have all these things that we're carrying that are weighing us down from getting to our point of destination. And so I just want to challenge you to think about the things that you have wasted your time thinking about, dwelling on, having a grudge with people, not forgiving situations, and you're just holding yourself back from so much that God has for you. So this is something I've been working on. I've been praying to God to release me from the opinions of others, whether it's positive or negative. I want Him to release me of the positive opinions, because if I'm released from the positive opinions, I will always remain in a place of humility. If I'm released from the negative opinions, then I will not be constricted by people's opinions and concerns about my life when they don't even know me, or they don't even know my destiny. So being released from those two things will allow me to really walk into my destiny and my purpose, and be able to handle the things that are coming and have been spoken about my life. And so I think it's really important that you do the same as well. Think about what you need to reflect on. Think about what you need to drop off of your life, so that you're not holding yourself back from situations and blessings that are coming towards you because you decided to release those things. There are a lot of blessings that come in releasing things, and one big example I can provide for that is when I released my ex-boyfriend. It wasn't 5 months until I was able to meet my fiance, and we're getting married soon. And if it wasn't for me releasing that, I would have still been in that situation. I would have still been held back from situations that I needed to reach. I would have still been in that situation not knowing my worth, and thinking that this boy could be someone that is going to be a husband. You try to fit these males, I'm sorry if I call them boys, but just sometimes it's just they're not really there. So I tried to fit him into this mold, and I tried to make it so that he would be the person that God wanted for me, but God knows who he made for you. And so if you're going to try to fit people into molds, a significant other into a mold, you're always going to be trying to fit them in a mold, and then you're going to have to keep on shaping them and creating them and all that. When God has created someone for you, God has created someone specifically for you with the exact qualities that you want in him, the exact qualities that you want, but also the ones that you need. And then you won't have to waste your time continuing to try to make someone into someone that they're not, trying to be frustrated or being frustrated because this person just doesn't get it. Yeah, of course they don't get it because they're not meant for you, or this person really doesn't understand that they need to do that this is the life that I want, and why is this not matching up with their life? Because your destinies aren't on the same level. They're not going in the same direction. So a lot of the questions you ask about these significant others who are not for you, and you're always sitting there frustrated and wondering why it's not working out. It's not working out because God didn't call it to work out. He did not bless that. You want him to bless something that he did not want. He did not create that relationship for you, but you're trying to make it something that's for you when it's not. And I totally got off topic, but I want to talk about that at some point, to have kind of women's talk and what I did in the process of being able to meet my fiance, because it was a process. It wasn't a wake up, I meet him, I'm ready type thing. It's a process of healing and mending stuff that was broken, releasing certain things, certain people, certain situations, so that I can get to this level. So my next question for you is, will you forgive? If you want to go to your destiny, if you want to reach the next level, you need to forgive. You need to truly forgive, because a lot of the times we will say that we're forgiving, but in reality we're not. We go back to work the next week, or we meet that person again and we have this grudge towards them, or we have this attitude. And the reality is, if you keep on talking about the situation that affected you negatively and you're not able to speak positively about that person, that means you never forgave them. And we can sit here and say, oh yeah, I forgive them, and all this, but in your heart, if you don't forgive them, it's gonna show. It's really gonna show. And you can play like you've forgiven them, but you know in your heart that you don't, or you haven't. And so if you are in a place that you need to forgive someone, ask God to help you with that process, because it is a process and it's gonna take a while. But the sooner you allow yourself to see that you need to forgive that person, that's when you can come closer to forgiving that person. You can go through the process of reflecting. You can go through the process of letting go of certain things. Why did this person do that? You don't need to answer the questions anymore about why that person walked into your life, why they treated you that way. A lot of the time we hold on to situations because we feel like we need an answer. We need an answer to why they did that, why they said that, why they misunderstood you, when the reality is you don't need an answer. If they're not willing to talk about it to you directly and explain to you about it, then let it go, because we can spend a lot of time trying to hold on to things that are going to be a burden for us. And we have to realize that our destiny is calling for a higher person, a higher self that's associated with what God's purpose is for you. And if you're not in line with what he wants for you, then you're going to be holding yourself back. And then God is going to be saying, well, this is what I gave you, this opportunity, you didn't take it. This is what held you back. It was your unforgiveness. It was your disobedience. It was your non-ability to follow what I say, your not ability to seek me. So there's a lot of things that can hold you back from situations in your destiny. And I feel that it's important that you make sure you release those things so that you can accept those blessings that are coming to you. So my final statement I wanted to talk about was praying for freedom from people's opinions and actions. I already expressed my prayer that has been happening lately for me, is to be released from the positive and negative opinions and actions of others, because I want to be able to remain in a place of humility, but I also don't want to be held back because of my perception of how people see me, or my self-criticism that is making me insecure about certain things that I know I should be doing, but I say, oh well, what are people going to think about me? Why does that matter? The only person that should have any type of judgment over you is God, and so you need to answer to Him and stop answering to people and their opinions and what other people are doing and watching other people and what they're doing. Do your own thing, get in your own lane, and stop trying to be what someone else calling has said for them. So, I mean, I think an example I can provide about this is that I listen to a lot of women in ministry, and they do a lot of things, and it hasn't been like, oh, now I have this book, now I have this worldwide ministry, now I have this YouTube channel with 30,000 subscribers. Like, no, it was a process that got them to that level. So for me to try and go and say, okay, I'm going to start a women's group, but I'm also going to be writing a book, and then I'm going to be doing this, like, are you called to do all those things? Because a lot of people will try to latch on to what other people are doing and not realizing, is this for me or is this for someone else? This is how they did it, but is that how God wants me to do it? Is that what God wants me to do? And so I've been trying to make sure that I'm not trying to grasp onto things that are not for me, because we can look at something shiny and say, hey, let me do that. Or we can look at someone's success and say, I need to do that. That's the equation for success, and that's how I get there. No, everyone's equation to success, or everyone's path towards their destiny is different. So for us to say, this is how I'm going to get there, and I'm going to basically copy someone else, that's not going to get you there. And you're going to be frustrated because you stepped out of alignment with what God said He wanted for you, and you stepped into someone else's vision and not the vision God has for you. I don't know where that came from, but I just wanted to speak on that because it's been something that I've been thinking about lately. So that's all for Fulfilling Life Friday. Like I said in my other videos, I'm waiting for some type of videographer to be able to connect with me, or for me to have the space to be able to, have somewhere else that I'm doing Fulfilling Life Friday. And so until then, we are going to be believing for it. I'm believing for it, and I'm believing for greater things. I know that this consistency is leading to something. Whatever you're consistent with is going to lead to something. Even if you don't see it now, you will see it. And because of your consistency, your obedience is going to lead to something that is connected to your destiny, especially if you are connecting with God and confirming that this is what He wants for you. So, for Fulfilling Life Friday, I always close it out with speaking blessings over you. And so I want to speak blessings over your 3-day weekend. And I always talk about goals, and you have 3 days to get things done. If you are an entrepreneur, you need to realize that the less work you do, the less likely you're going to get to where you need to be. So get into your goals. Write them down, get an accountability partner, and say, hey, so this is my goal, and I'm going to get there, and this is how I'm going to get there. Don't worry about the time frame. Don't worry about the money. The money is going to come in when you are doing what God has called you to do. Everything is going to come in. It's not going to be on your time, though. So we're going to start something, and we're going to say, all right, God, so, and this is how we talk to God, honestly. We're like, okay, God, so my wedding is this date. So by this date, I need this. By this date, we need an apartment. We need somewhere to stay. By this date, we need this to happen. Like, how disrespectful is that? Like, we're trying to tell God what to do in our own lives, not knowing that He already has a plan. He goes forth and He goes before us to establish what He's going to do for us, but we're in ourselves, and His time is different than our time. So we're trying to tell Him what to do, but He already knows what the plan is. And so we're just like disrespectful and trying to tell God what to do, and we're just like out of alignment. But I want you to be patient with things, and I'm working on this, to be patient with things and let things just happen how they will happen. Our time limit and our time frame is totally different than what God is wanting for us. So we just need to relax, let God, be still, and know that He's God and we're not God, and we don't know what He has for us, and just be in alignment with Him. So I speak blessings of your goals, your 3-day weekend, getting to those goals. Your goals are just as important as the goals of the organizations and companies you work at, because you may spend 40 hours a week working on their goals, but then you come home and you spend like 0 hours of time on your goals, and then it's 2020 and you have nothing to account for. So speak blessings of your goals, your productivity, and your discipline. And then I also speak blessings over your finances. I've been talking about finances for a while. I always want to talk about finances because they're very important for you, especially when it comes to stewardship. If you say you want to get to a certain level, you need to have that stewardship that comes with it. How are you going to be a millionaire if you don't know how to manage your finances? Why do lottery winners lose money, or why are they broke again within the first 5 years? Why? Because they don't know how to manage their money. They get amount of money, even if it's $1 million or it's $500, they're going to spend it badly because they don't have the management skills to handle those finances. So I speak blessings of your financial stewardship and your finances. So when the finances do come in, you're able to manage them well. You're able to invest. You're able to think smart before you think about that shiny object you don't need to buy. So I speak blessings over your finances. And then I speak blessings over your discernment, especially in the month of October, your discernment for the rest of the year. There are things that are coming to you that need to be released at a certain point, and it's about that time. And so I am speaking blessings over the things that are going to be released to you. Anything that is held back is going to be released in the name of Jesus. And it is so. So that is all for Fulfilling Life Friday. I am going to sign off at this point, and I hope this blessed you if you're watching the replay or you're going to watch at a later date, but I hope it blesses you, and I just pray blessings over your goals, financial stewardship, your blessings that are coming forth. So that is all for Fulfilling Life Friday. We have a blessed weekend, 3-day weekend, goals, and until next time, I'll see you.